let me put it this way. I knew that he was very impressed, and I thought he wanted to be going with me, so I kept mowing, but he gave me a couple comments, so it was actually pretty cool when he came up.
That's 11-year-old Frank Giacchio. You see him right there. He's mowing the White House lawn. He volunteered for the job. He wanted to show the world what an entrepreneur he is. He's a hard worker. He volunteered for that job. But now we have this, a New York Times reporter. He has since left the paper. He continues to write for the New York Times. His name is Stephen Greenhouse. He had covered labor unions for the Times. He is now getting slammed after basically turning a heartwarming story into a Trump smear attack. That's the criticism. Greenhouse went after President Trump for letting this young boy to mow the White House lawn. Stephen Greenhouse saying it sends a bad message about child labor, tweeting out, quote, "Not sending a great signal on child labor, minimum wage, and occupational safety. Trump White House lets this volunteer, this little boy, mow its lawn." New York Times stock closed in the day higher, up less than 1%. Let's bring in, look who's here, Larry Winget. He's the author of Your Kids Are Your Own Fault and the newly released book, What's Wrong with Damn Near Everything. All right, Larry, what do you think of this story about the 11-year-old Frank? The little boy wrote a letter to President Trump. He wanted to mow the rose garden and the lawn there. He wanted to show the nation what young people are really about and what they're ready for. I mean, what do you think of the New York Times guy going after him?
I tell you what, this is a good kid, and this is what we all want our little kids to be. Somebody who wants to get a job, somebody who's obviously interested in taking care of himself and self-sufficiency instead of government dependency. However, we've got people like this writer who come out and say that it's bad, and it just astounds me. I cannot be convinced at all by anyone that this writer gives a hoot and a holler about this kid's safety or about minimum wage or about whether this has any impact on child labor practices. This is all about he hates Trump. And it's a damn shame that we have politicized everything from football to the Emmys to hurricane relief to this kid who wants to do a good job and do the right thing, and the parents who raised him that way. We've politicized all of it. You know, we ought to be better than that.
Larry, listen, I know you are a big supporter of unionizing and getting unions for child lawnmowers. I know you're all about that. That's your next book, right?
Absolutely. And I love the sarcasm in your voice there. Yeah, I really support that. Let's make everything cost more. Let's put a lot of people out of work by unionizing everything. Look, I started mowing yards when I was 8 years old. A lot of people watching this did the same thing. We lived through it. We were okay with doing it. It wasn't about child labor practices. It was about my daddy told me to get out there and mow the yard. That was my contribution. And this kid just wants to make a contribution. And now we're putting him down for it. And we're putting down the president. It's about politicizing something that's a good thing. Obamacare, Trump care, immigration, tax reform. Those are about politics, not a kid who wants to mow a yard.
I think do you feel like some people out there want kids like that just to stay home watching video games and then getting, all sorts of dietary problems because, they're getting obese and they should be regulated? What do you think?
Yeah, obviously this kid's not sitting at home watching video games. And again, you're absolutely right. He's actually doing something. But when we start to legislate so we're not letting kids go out and have recess and play tag and do all of those sorts of things, and this kid's out getting a little exercise, again, we want to put that down. This is a kid that we need to admire. It's parents that we need to admire. We need to value that.
Larry Winget, we love having you on. Come back soon.
Thank you.
Now this outcry from Harvard Group.